Ladies and gentlemen, virtual wrestling fans worldwide, this is the guy who plays V-Pac on UCWL. And I'm making this video with the heaviest of hearts. And I'm making this video out of character. Most of you on YouTube know me as V-Pac. My real name is Vinny. I'm 33 years old. And I'm from Long Island, New York. And this past Friday, the 26th of October, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, I had to do one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. On October 26th, I had to say goodbye for the last time to one of my best friends and most loyal of companions. I had to say goodbye to my cat Obi-Wan. I had Obi-Wan, or Obi for short, for the last 13 years. And I decided to make this eulogy of him for all my friends and YouTube subscribers to see, because I want to share his life story to all of you and how he helped me through some of the hardest times in my life. So I guess the only way to start is at the beginning. I got Obi, along with his sister Padme, as baby kittens back in the summer of 2005. They were part of a litter of kittens from a cat that belonged to my aunt. At first, we were only going to get Padme, but Obi started to climb on both me and my mother, and the both of us instantly fell in love with him. We ended up getting the both of them, and we brought the two of them home, and we set up a room in my house for the two of them to roam around in. At least until the other cats I had at the time could get used to them. I remember playing with the both of them every day, before and after I went to work. But at first I was afraid to hold both Obi and Padme because at the time I kind of compared myself to Lenny from the movie Of Mice and Men, played by John Malkovich. And if you saw that movie, you know what I'm talking about. But eventually I got over my fear and I started holding the both of them and showing them a lot of love. And I knew I was going to have a special relationship with Obi when one day I came home from work and he came running downstairs to greet me, and my mother told me that that was the first time he had come downstairs all day. He then started meowing at me. He stood up on his hind legs and he pretty much asked me to hold him, which I ended up doing, and he started purring like a little motorboat. In October of that same year, both Obi and his sister Padme helped me through one of the biggest tragedies of my life, the death of my grandfather. And as grief struck at both me and the rest of my family, both Obi and Padme helped me get through it. Everything, though, wasn't all bad. After almost a year after we got them in the summer of 2006, my sister and a group of her friends were playing on the playground of the elementary school that I used to live near, and that's when they found another stray kitten near the street, and this kitten would become Obi and Padme's brother from another mother, Napoleon. And over the years, the three of them, especially Obi and Napoleon, became very close and would love to wrestle each other. Everywhere I saw the two of them, those two would be wrestling each other. Napoleon most of the time would start it, and it was Obi who would finish it. Another funny memory I have of Obi was, we got Obi fixed first, but waited a little bit to get Padme fixed. So Padme was, well, I guess the only proper term to say Padme was in heat. Laying around on the floor, and Obi was sitting on the bed, and Obi leaped off the bed and grabbed Padme by the nape of her neck and then proceeded to drag her by the nape of her neck out of my room like a monster from a movie dragging his victim into a dark room to consume him. So he dragged Padme out of my room, and the next thing I hear is, well, I'm pretty sure you get the picture. And after he was done, he walked right into my mother's room, and my mother looked at him and asked, "Did you enjoy yourself?" Sorry. It's very hard to remember all this. Now, as the years went by, my bond with Obi grew incredibly strong. He would always greet me at the door whenever I came home from work, or if I was out with friends, or went to the movies, or wherever. And when I came home, he knew he was going to get fed. And Obi always loved to eat, which I guess he got from me, because I like to cook and always loved eating food. So sometimes a little too much. And whenever I had a bad day or if times were tough, I always held him and hugged him, and he'd always make me feel better. He'd always nuzzle me with his head and purr like a little motorboat. You know, one of the things Obi used to love to do when he was a young cat was he literally lay down on my chest when I was laying down in bed, which I'll admit was very hard to try and sleep with him on me because he was a very big cat. And after all, it was like trying to sleep with a cinder block sitting on your chest. Imagine trying to sleep with a giant cinder block sitting on your chest, and that's what it was like trying to sleep with Obi sitting on your chest. He was a very big cat. He was a Maine Coon, and Maine Coons can get very, very big. I mean, another funny story I got of Obi was, and I have a feeling Brady, the guy who runs ACL, might like this story, as it has something to do with my trip I took to Australia with my aunt back in 2010. And it was a 3-week trip, and I called home. I called home to see how everyone was doing. And then my mom put the speakerphone on and told me to call Obi, and apparently he came running towards the phone and started nuzzling it with his head, and he started purring. Well, of course, when I got home from that trip, he wouldn't come near me for a few days, because I guess he was upset with me for being gone for so long, but eventually he did warm right back up to me. One of the most difficult times Obi helped me get through was when I found out my mother was diagnosed with ovarian cancer in the summer of 2012. And he stood by me throughout the entire ordeal, and he comforted me and showed his love, and he was just a great source of comfort for me. Yeah, especially during that very very tough period of my life, especially when my mother passed away from it 3 years later in the summer of 2015. And he was also there for me that summer as well when I started a new chapter in my life, when I moved out of my childhood home of almost 30 years and moved into my new apartment that I live in today. It's actually a studio apartment in my sister's house, which I am forever grateful for her for. And she allowed me to bring Obi with me when I moved in. And by that time, though, unfortunately, Obi was the last of the Mohegans. Napoleon had sadly passed away in 2011, and Padme did as well in 2013. So at the time I moved into my apartment, it was just me and him. It was just me and Obi. And I remember that car ride that I took from my old home to my apartment. It was about a 20-minute, half an hour car ride, depending on the traffic. But Yeah, Obi did not like to travel. Obi hated traveling. So and he hated being stuck inside that cat carrier, and he the entire car ride he was freaking out. He was meowing, he was panting, and I was and I was driving like a lunatic to get to my apartment because I was afraid he was gonna have a heart attack and die inside that cat carrier because sadly that's what Padme died of in 2013. She died of a heart attack. But that's a story for another time. When I finally got to the apartment, I literally just set the cat carrier down in my bedroom and I opened it, and the first thing Obi did was he literally ran out and hid underneath the desk that's in my bedroom. And he stayed there pretty much the entire night. At least until he knew I wasn't going anywhere, and then he slowly came out and sat on and laid down on the bed next to me. But a little side note: when I went to go put the cat carrier away, I discovered he had crapped himself in that cat carrier. So you can say the car ride literally scared the shit out of him. So, as you all know, in 2016, I started my virtual wrestling league, UCWL, or the Universal Championship Wrestling League. And I started putting shows together, and not too long after that's when I met the group of guys that would eventually become some of my best friends in the Virtual Wrestling United group. And when we did shows together and I did commentary, they would always joke. They would always joke around about Obi, especially D-Wall. D-Wall always liked to joke about Obi, quote unquote, sabotaging my league because whenever I did recordings for commentary and or any from my shows or any of their shows, Obi would like to lay down on my arm and purr while I was on my bed recording that said commentary. And to me, that was his way of, being a part of what I did. And yeah, before long, not just D-Wall was the only one cracking jokes about him, but everybody else, a part of the Virtual Wrestling United group, started cracking jokes about him. I mean, if you've seen if you've seen MTV streams about like when we play Fortnite or Elder Scrolls Online, you can hear them always cracking jokes about Obi. And I'm going to be honest right now. For years in the back of my head, I always knew the day would come where I had to put Obi down. And I absolutely dreaded it. It horrified me to no end. Like, I could not imagine life without Obi in it. I could not imagine my life without Obi in it. I mean, and if you're a pet owner and you know what I'm talking about, they say animals. They say animals. Some people think that animals don't have feelings or emotions, but trust me, they do. They know what's going on, especially your pets. They know when you're sad or when you're happy or when you're and they just want to cheer you up. I ran every possible worst case scenario in my head about what that day would be like. And it scared me to no end. But when the day did come last Friday and I was scared, I was horrified, I was a hysterical mess. I was saying goodbye to arguably. I mean, I don't want to say, but Obi was kind of like my emotional anchor to me after my mother died. Like I was so afraid. I was so afraid of, like, could I go through with this? Like, I didn't know if I had the strength to do it. And I was calling my aunt in Florida, like, she was trying to, like, encourage me, like, this is something you have to do. I mean, you don't want to see Obi suffer, because by the time I found out, by the time, like, I found out that previous Wednesday that Obi had cancer in his intestines and his spleen. And just in the span of 2 days, all he did, like for his final days, all he did was he hid underneath my desk. He couldn't even meow. Like, he was drooling all over the place. Like, I had to clean him up. He was just a mess. But when the time did come for me to put him down, and I was not alone. I was not alone. I found out I was not alone. I was not alone physically, and later I found out I wasn't alone spiritually either. Like, my brother-in-law and my aunt went with me because they didn't want me driving, because they knew I was going to be a mess. And well, after I finally did it, and I dragged myself back to my car. Well, back to my aunt's car, because we drove my aunt's car there. I went to go call my other aunt in Florida to tell her that it had been done, and that's when I noticed I had 2 Facebook notifications on my phone. I was looking at them. One was from James Needham, or as you all know him as Hit Kid, and I read this. I read what he said, and he mentioned something about a video. And then I looked at the other post, and it was from Dave Gordon, otherwise known as Mr. SRH, the guy who runs Wrestling Fantasy Showdown. And I saw this 5-minute video that he made about Obi and about me, and it was a really heartfelt video that he made for me. And I saw it just like mere minutes after I had to put Obi down, and it helped take some of the pain away. That video was, it made me realize that I was not alone in this whole ordeal. So Dave, if you're listening to this, thank you for that. Thank you for showing me that I was not alone in the ordeal. And not only did I see the video, but I played it in the car for my brother-in-law and my aunt, and they both said I have a bunch of amazing friends, and not just you, Dave, either. Like, when I broke the news to everybody, when I broke the news on my Facebook page that I had to put Obi down, like, everybody just came out of the woodwork and sent their condolences. Not just, like, and I want to thank all of you. I want to thank D-Wall. I want to thank Eddie. I want to thank MTB, Zahaya, Malik Brown, Hit Kid, Charles, Chris Martinez, anybody else in the virtual wrestling community I forgot, like Ray Geddes, Raymond Dudley, Smokey, John Blackos, Brady, and AJ Young, definitely. AJ Young actually messaged me while I was at work the next day and sent his condolences. And it's not just them, but also my friends outside of virtual wrestling, like my friends James, my friend Brian, Josh, Amber, and my family members like my sister, my brother-in-law, both of my aunts living in Florida and Wisconsin, and my other aunt who was there to help me pay for euthanizing Obi. And helping him get cremated, and showing me that I'm not alone in this very difficult period in my life. Now, with that said, I guess that brings me to you guys, my fans and subscribers on my YouTube channel, and this brings me to, I'm sure, something you guys are wondering, like, what is the future for UCWL? And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going anywhere. I still plan on going through with episodes of UCWL Showdown, but I am going to take some time to both mourn and grieve for Obi. But I'm not going to be gone for long. I'm not going to be gone like 6 months to a year or anything like that. If anything, it's just going to be like maybe 2 weeks. I just want to get through the first week. I just want to get through the first week without Obi in my life, and I want to get used to the way the things are now. But I'm not going anywhere. And to my friends in Virtual Wrestling United, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to show up on Discord every night. I'm going to still hang out. I'm going to still be around if you need me to record commentary for you guys. I just wanted to get this eulogy out. And with that said, this is Vinny, aka V-Pac, signing out. I'll see you guys all soon, because like I said, I'm not going anywhere, but I am going to take some time to mourn and grieve for Obi. But I actually already have brainstormed some plans for episode 30, and I'll probably be releasing them, sometime within maybe the next couple of days. But as for episode 30, I will definitely try to put it out maybe sometime November, which is, right around the corner. But until then, I'm signing out, and I'll see you guys all soon.